And welcome back, everyone, to Global Speedrun Association. We got you another Super Mario Odyssey race coming your way. This one from the losers bracket this time between SomeBroYouDontKnow and CoinKirby. My name is Dangers. Joining me on commentary is Kirbis. What is up, Kirbis?
What is up, everybody?
What is poppin' gamers? I'm excited for this race. How about you?
I'm very excited. Always excited to see the exquisite Mario Odyssey talent we have on display here.
Just exquisite. Très magnifique.
And
Now,
this is actually one of the last one of the last matches of the first round of the losers bracket.
it is indeed. So we will be seeing an elimination here. These guys have already kind of taken a tumble in the first round. Going to loser bracket means that they are playing for their lives now. SomeBro has PB'd in this category recently. Does have a 104.21. CoinKirby, I think, a mid 107. So maybe the PB might kind of foreshadow what we are about to see here, but it is anybody's race. I know that CoinKirby does indeed go for some particularly risky strats, and they might pay off for him. It'll be interesting to see how this one turns out.
Yeah, maybe some high risk, high reward kind of stuff here. We'll see how he decides to play it.
Yep, it should be an exciting one for sure. Now, the winner of this one going to be moving on in the losers bracket. It looks like the winner will be moving on to play. Where am I here? I think I'm lost. Yep, I am lost. Hold on one second.
Looks like they'll move on to play all new Luke.
Ah, yes. There we go.
Who dropped down to losers bracket from the second round of the tournament. Took a loss to Stravos. No shame in that. Stravos being the second overall seed in this tournament.
Yep, definitely a substantial runner. Shows his prowess, especially in tournament settings. So, there's only so much you can expect from racing against a guy like that. So, the losers bracket is definitely going to be kind of spicing up as we move on into the second round. We already have some pretty high quality names dropping into the losers bracket. So, as this tournament moves on, it's going to be pretty spicy. So we're going to be progressing through Cap Kingdom initially here. CoinKirby taking the first bonk of the match right on the stairs. SomeBro going to be pulling ahead.
And right away, you can tend to see some discrepancies here between runners. Like, I know in this room in particular, I feel like is the section where people lose the most amount of unaccounted for time, where they don't really know where the time is being lost. It's like the trickiest section of Cap to me, but
Certainly.
really optimized at the highest level. So it actually looks like CoinKirby caught up a little bit in that room.
Yeah, SomeBro taking a little bit of strange movement with the frog, accidentally hitting one of the railings, but CoinKirby actually opting to go right side here, so SomeBro gaining that time back just like that.
So right side is, I would call it a consistency play, because typically if you mess up left side, even without a bonk, it will wind up being slower than what it could be with an optimal right side, which is much easier to do consistently. So I suppose a consistency play, but yeah, that's a few seconds that he'll lose there.
But still a close race coming out of Cap Kingdom. SomeBro with the probably about 4-second advantage as we go into Cascade. Both of these runners playing on 1.0, which means that we will be seeing some first moon skip coming up here.
Yeah, always nice to me to have the races with runners on the same version, because that means it's very easy to follow along and see them perform these motions in parallel.
Yep, SomeBro the first one to arrive at the wall, both opting for the wall jump strategy, slightly safer, but CoinKirby taking a bonk as he tries to get up this first chunk of Cascade Kingdom. So SomeBro going to be taking a little bit more of a lead here, entering the Madame Brutal fight. And now we always kind of mention that this particular chunk, this boss fight, is not incredibly difficult. It comes down to muscle memory. Of course, now that I've said that, SomeBro taking some damage to the initial phase of this fight. Going to be setting himself up here. A bit of a weird setup, but he was able to pull it off just fine.
Looks like he kind of got to a spot he wanted to be in a little late. A little bit of a rushed cap throw to get in position there, but it wound up working out for him.
Yeah,
just the
thankfully.
second phase where he took some damage, lost a little bit of time. We're kind of close to being in sync still.
Yep, still keeping it nice and tight here. About 4 seconds separates them still. So as we leave this boss fight, we just need to gather 2 extra moons before we're allowed to leave the kingdom. The quickest ones being directly around the Odyssey. So we're going to see SomeBro probably activate a spin pound into a triple jump to get up the top of this cliff on the left side. Actually just opting for the double jump. Not a bad strategy, just a little bit tighter on the movement. Then down underneath this waterfall basin where we're going to see potentially a chest clip set up here. So SomeBro getting the chest clip. CoinKirby opting for the kind of the safer method, just coming out of the chest basin there.
Yeah, it looked like CoinKirby wasn't going to attempt the chest clip there. He just went straight for the normal route out.
Yep, and all of these little things are going to matter. They're going to start adding up. SomeBro with a pretty comfortable lead already as we enter sand.
Sand Kingdom I always call like sort of an equalizer kingdom. There's a lot that can go wrong here. So it's kind of where the race starts to me. Like, you know, a few seconds difference out of Cascade is never too big of an issue in a race setting. Sand is where things really start to get spicy, usually.
This is when you're doing regular runs on your own time. This is probably the first place that things start to become an issue, when resets start happening on kind of a bigger scale. Cap and Cascade, all these runners see those kingdoms so often that, you know, it's like the back of their hand, but this is where things start to get a little bit more interesting.
So yeah, with both these runners being on 1.0, we'll be looking for a Sphinx Clip route in Sand Kingdom, which is probably one of the bigger culprits of potential big time loss. Roll cancel clips can just in general be kind of finicky in this game.
And I mean, to their credit, we are indeed breaking the physics of the game, so it does make sense that they are a little bit tricky to deal with. This not being available on 1.2, but both of these runners, of course, on 1.0, so we will probably be seeing Sphinx Clip. Maybe a double Sphinx Clip if one of these runners is feeling rather risky. But here we are.
Double Sphinx Clip being something that only really saves time if you get it first or second try both times.
Exactly.
So definitely, if you're confident in your abilities, it can be worth it. But if you have any doubt whatsoever, you'll probably wind up losing time to it.
Yeah, and you have to be careful to especially nail the last of the 2 Sphinx Clips, because it does set you up for a bird cycle later on, and if you are taking any extra time, then you will end up missing the bird entirely. Now, CoinKirby opting not to even go for Sandram there, just looking to grab the Alcove Moon and then jump up. SomeBro, however, nailing the Dram strat and gaining himself even more time here.
Kind of showing off how much time that strat can save, as he's appeared to have burst into a bit larger of a lead. Gets the second try Sphinx Clip, and looks like he'll just go for the single clip.
Yep, setting up for the single. Not going to be risking any bird cycle missteps there.
I'd say that's in general the correct play, because if you do happen to miss that bird, there's not really a even halfway decent backup for it. You'd probably wind up going back into the town and collecting, either warping and waiting for the bird again, or getting like the employees on the board or something along those lines.
Yeah, both of those options, of course, not very quick, not very solid ideas at all. So, especially in a race setting, definitely worth trying to just do the single clip. You're only losing about 2 or 3 seconds to the double clip way, so not a terrible idea, especially in a race.
And it was pretty good early try clips for both these runners.
Yep, CoinKirby actually edging out a little bit there, getting it on the first try.
So this moon that SomeBro is coming up on, I actually find one of the most interesting moons to optimize in this sand route, because if you do happen to roll off of that cliff at just the right angle, you can kind of power roll directly onto the center of the mound and spin pound out of your roll. But with the way hills work and your roll momentum take you all kinds of weird places, your angle has to be pretty exact to make that work. So I tend to see a lot of different approaches to grab this moon.
Yeah, it is interesting. The most common one that I see is like a jump onto the top of the platform and then a spin pound, just to kind of like line yourself up a little bit nicer.
Yeah. CoinKirby actually chasing down the bird a little bit before getting the ground pound moon. He wasn't in danger of missing the cycle there. The bird would have looped around the oasis one more time, but probably faster for him to grab it the way he did, rather than wait for it to loop back around or have to chase it to the other corner.
Yeah, smart. Last second thinking there by CoinKirby. But as we approach Lake Kingdom, SomeBro has a rather commanding lead, probably about 30 seconds ahead at this point. And it'll be interesting to see. We probably won't see any late clip ideas from these guys.
Yeah, still very much a top, not even top 1%, but top 0.1% of runners kind of thing at this point. So yeah, I wouldn't expect. Although there are a handful of people outside of the very top runners that opt to go for it. Just some people have the attitude of going for everything no matter what.
Yeah, that can be true. Everybody learns things at their own pace, and going about things and figuring out how to make the speedrun work for them is definitely a personal choice. So SomeBro diving directly into the water, no late clip ideas, as was expected. So just going to be going the Rango route, gathering a couple quick moons in the water, and then on his way up to the boss fight.
And CoinKirby will follow suit.
And as we are going through these kingdoms, I'm noticing both runners doing rather well still. The pace looks pretty solid from both. It just appears that CoinKirby is making a couple of movement errors over SomeBro. So that's where this time is going to start bleeding away on CoinKirby's side. Noticing a couple fish bonks in Lake Kingdom. SomeBro not making the same mistakes, just opting for just smooth movement. And these things are all going to start to add up as we got to get later into the run. All right. And just like that, both of these guys done with their Rango fights on to Wooded Kingdom. And now Wooded Kingdom is definitely a chokehold point for runners in this tournament. Already we've seen some big missteps happen. We've seen a couple runners fall into the deep woods as a result of the out of bounds movement. We've seen some runners just kind of spaghetti up the out of bounds movement and fall back in bounds and have to resort to the older route. This Kingdom in particular is definitely a place where the tides can change if something goes wrong. So as we approach Wooded Kingdom, some things to look out for. We've got the nut clip upcoming. So first we're going to see SomeBro grab this rock here. Grab this rock and take it over to this bunny, stop the bunny in his tracks, and then use that rock to bust open a different one with the moon inside. Then grab the bunny's rock, or the bunny's moon as well. Go to the shop and buy an extra moon before proceeding to this nut clip up ahead at the top of the waterfall.
You know, one thing I'm always interested to see is how people back up a failed nut clip if it would ever happen in a race, because I feel a lot of people, if they fail the clip, they'll just reset. They won't really go for the rock clip backup. But obviously in a race, it would be better to know that rock clip backup rather than reverting back to the very old wooded route, or the more beginner wooded route, I would call it. So I'm always interested to see. Not that I want the runners to fail the nut clip, but it always makes for interesting watch to see how they back it up.
Yeah, 1.0 does have a kind of backup available using the rock clip method. A little bit harder to pull off on 1.2, so you don't see it as often. They just end up going for the older route. SomeBro, however, getting the nut clip, getting the movement inside the rock wall as well, and he is up the ramp and on his way. Successful nut clip from SomeBro here. CoinKirby going to be following suit, hopefully being able to get through the wall, and he does. Now it comes down to the out of bounds movement.
Yeah, to me, this movement right here to get up the rock wall is much more difficult than the actual clip to get out of bounds. And
yes, I would agree with that.
See, CoinKirby, what he's trying to do there is grab the moon without clipping back in bounds, because if you do happen to do that, you're kind of stuck there. You have to warp out. It's the only way to get out from the rock wall. So you see there, he grabbed the moon and wasn't able to get around the rock wall the correct way. He kind of slid on a bad part of the wall that wouldn't allow him to get a wall jump. So he's gonna have to go for some backups here. Now it looks like he is kind of just doing the old wooded route, but he has an extra moon that he otherwise wouldn't have if he was actually doing that route. So we'll see if he has the awareness to skip one of the slower ones.
Yeah, and in my opinion, that would probably be the one that's around the dead end, if he were to have that kind of awareness. But basically just skipping one along the way is all he's going to need to do. We might see these guys go for the spiritless route, which is definitely the faster way of going about it if you have it optimized. Yes, and we do see Coin is just going to skip the nut at the dead end.
That's something where world peace knowledge could really come in handy, because you kind of know, based on what the world peace route is, which of the 80% moons aren't included in that route, and that kind of tells you which ones are slowest.
Yes,
in general.
certainly.
It doesn't exactly translate, because different categories kind of propose different scenarios, so some moons would be faster in one and slower in the other, but it gives you a general idea at the very least.
Certainly. And that being said, because CoinKirby did miss the out-of-bounds movement, he is going to have to fight Spirit here. SomeBro is going to be given the opportunity to potentially not have to do it. Also, did CoinKirby go into the pipeway? I don't think he did.
He has not.
All right, so that's kind of an interesting development. He's going to be short moons by the time he gets out of here.
He could elect to grab the checkpoint flag at the top here and drop down to the pipeway if need be, and then warp out to fight Spirit. That's something I've seen people do in the past.
Yeah, that might be the power play here. SomeBro is opting for the spiritless route, got the nut around the bend, then going into this pipeway section. Didn't grab the checkpoint, going to be going right into the fight, and after he's done with this fight, gonna be 2 moons short, so he's gonna have to make those up after he's done with the fight. I don't know if he has the awareness to realize that this is what's happening, but gonna have to make this work now.
Yeah, definitely seems like a bit of a mental mistake there. It'll be interesting to see if he now notices that he's going to be moon short and how he chooses to remedy that. Wouldn't Kingdom being one where checkpoints actually go away? Now, I don't think he grabbed any checkpoints anywhere, but even if he did, the ones that he would have been able to grab kind of just disappear after you beat Spirit until you achieve world peace. So even your mobility throughout the kingdom is a little bit limited in this kind of situation.
It's interesting how this game kind of works. As you progress through the story, in some kingdoms, the phases of the kingdoms change. The way they look changes. The way they behave changes. Some checkpoints, like you said, do get eliminated and will not come back until world peace has been achieved. Some don't come back at all.
Yeah, I don't think he realizes that he's a couple moons short there as he's looking to dump his moons.
Yep, so that's actually going to be very costly. Yeah, didn't realize at the moment, so he's going to have to make his way over to somewhere, basically, and figure out how to make these moons up.
And this is really all he can do, roll all the way over here to get back to the main area of the kingdom. It looks like he'll probably go for this atop a tall tree nut. And gonna go for it uprootless as well.
Oh no!
Taking a spill into the deep woods.
That is the most unfortunate.
Yeah, so this is fine in the sense that he can grab 2 pretty quick moves down here if he knows where he's going, but at the same time he's gonna have to plant a beanstalk here to even get out. And it looks like he doesn't know his deep woods very well because he's opting to just piece out of here as quick as possible and get his moons for somewhere else.
Definitely would have been a power play to just get moons in the deep woods while you're here, but he's going to be back at the Odyssey now, meaning that he has to make the climb all the way back up. Doesn't even know that you can roll along the railing to get back up to the tree portion there, so he's going to be taking the slow way up, this kind of walk of shame. Oh boy, things not looking good for CoinKirby as we enter the middle of this race.
Wooded Kingdom in particular, I think just solely because of the presence of the deep woods. And I think grabbing this uproot here being a smart choice. We don't want to take a return trip to the deep woods. But I think Wooded in particular is one where things can just go drastically wrong very quickly, as we're seeing, you know, evidence right here.
Yeah, definitely a series of unfortunate events happening. So CoinKirby going to be probably opting to just get the nut on the tall fence and then going back to the Odyssey. He obviously has this rock wall moon already from the earlier out of bounds movement.
Yeah,
but
now I almost wonder if the better play would have been to just go straight to the pipeway from the Odyssey. But I can definitely see the 2 nuts that he's going for being the fastest option in this situation. Having trouble with the Fire Flower, opting to just run up the slope anyway.
Doing it the any % way. Very interesting. Breaking open this nut, and now he's just going to make his way back to the Odyssey. Finally has the moons that he requires to get to the next kingdom. Yeah, you'd hate to see that. A very unfortunate Wood Kingdom from CoinKirby here. Taking bonks every place he can. Now, SomeBro, meanwhile, is in Lost Kingdom, taking a couple bonks of his own, but making it worth. Opting for the Stone Cage Moon for safety here.
You know, I think this is something that really isn't much slower at all. Oh, taking a death in the poison. Not sure what happened there. It looks like he might have just dropped a dive input. get to
Yeah,
his cap.
potentially dropped input there. Unfortunate circumstance, but he can back that up rather quickly. Just got to get underneath the bridge and make sure that he doesn't come back to the top of the stage.
Oh,
Otherwise, he's going to trigger Klepto. What?
Okay, so yeah, there is a small section that you can land on and it will trigger Klepto, but that area is very risky to be playing around with, so I'm shocked that he went for that, unless he's just not aware how tight that actually is. But definitely a risky play there. Worked out for him in general. Death, but kind of a best case scenario kind of death in Lost Kingdom. One that will lose you the least amount of time.
And with that, off to Metro. CoinKirby in Cloud Kingdom, fighting Bowser, getting these phases done as quickly as he possibly can. He's got a lot of ground to make up after that Wooded Kingdom, though.
Yeah, and this section of the game kind of makes leads look larger than they actually are, just because Lost Kingdom and Cloud being so short, kind of like the two shortest sections in the run. I think that's actually true. They are the two shortest kingdoms overall in the run.
Yeah, with the exception of Cap, I believe.
Well, I believe, because Lost and Cap are roughly the same length. I think Lost is a bit shorter though.
Yeah, potentially. Somewhere in the ballpark of like 2:15, I think, is a pretty rough estimate of like really good runners' times.
But yeah, in any case, kind of makes the lead look larger because you could say like when Kirby was in Cap, you know, oh, SomeBro's already in Metro, he's like 2 kingdoms ahead, but it's in reality only a couple of minutes of a difference.
Very true indeed. SomeBro having a little bit of difficulty with this climb. Gonna have to wait for the next elevator cycle. Actually waiting for him there, so he's good.
Yeah, that's good in the sense that the elevator cycle was 1 full cycle behind, so he can kind of, for the rest of this tower climb, do his normal movement. It's just, you know, a cycle behind, so obviously slower, but it's easier to do that where the same movement is required as normal rather than trying to improvise the in-between cycle. You're not used to could really mess you up even further. We'll see if the Wiggler wants to be nice today.
Yeah, let's hope. Let's hope we do not get any 3 cycles. Notably, the RNG taking a role in this fight in the second phase.
Yeah, so this phase coming up right here, this is the money maker.
This is the make or break. Depending on what the Wiggler does here, you could end up seeing some unfortunate situations. Having a little bit of a weird cycle here, opting to shoot some kind of shooting the orbs in a weird pattern, in a weird order, but making it work okay. Gonna be pulling out the 2 cycle and on his way to Day Metro just as CoinKirby approaches the Night Metro portion.
Yeah, so the actual path the Wiggler took on running along the wall there was actually pretty favorable compared to the average Wiggler pattern. So able to pull that out even with some weird electric balls coming at him.
Yeah, what you don't like to see, of course, is a lot of crossover. The hitboxes are particularly punishing and don't register all of your shots. So if the portions of the Wiggler cross over each other a lot, then that tends to cause a lot of problems and sometimes doesn't register your hits. And now Day Metro, not a whole lot of huge time loss available in Day Metro, I would say. This is a kingdom where time tends to bleed. So just lots of little tricks that can be performed And if they're done optimally, you save a lot of time. And if they're not done unoptimally, you tend to lose quite a bit. This situation kind of arising for SomeBro here, trying to go for the scooter clip and not necessarily going for the best backups, but does manage to get through just fine.
Yeah, I think a lot of people try to rush the backup for that if they miss it, and it tends to make things worse.
Certainly.
You really, because you can do a quick lineup coming from the angle that you're used to, but if you're trying to back it up, do it in a way that you haven't really practiced a whole lot, then I think it's oftentimes just better to take a little bit of time, take a second or two to line things up properly to make sure you're on a good angle to grab that moon.
Absolutely. Just makes your life a little bit easier. And you'll end up losing less time, in fact.
Yeah. So taking a second or two to line up the backup is going to be better than kind of circling around the cage for a while, like you saw SomeBro do there.
Oh my goodness, CoinKirby having a little bit of difficulty in this section of the City Hall. Did a weird spin pound, I think, to maybe try and gain some height, but actually ended up breaking the platform and almost plummeting to his death as a result. Didn't, but did kind of make the climb a little bit harder for him.
Yeah, he got a little lucky there. That's a situation where when you're free falling and you don't really have your cap throw handy because you've already used it up, it's a situation where you can very easily fall or dive to your death. But he was able to get a dive. It looked like he dove onto the pole, which that itself can be very finicky. Sometimes these poles, you dive towards them and Mario doesn't grab onto them for whatever reason. If that would have happened there, I think he would have actually fell to his death.
Yep, thankfully not this time. Getting the long jump across as well and up to the Mecha Wiggler fight just fine. And now we'll see what is in store for him on this 2-cycle. SomeBro making his way through Metro Kingdom. Looks like he's opted for the route, which puts the musicians at the end. The slightly less optimal route, but this arguably safer one.
Oh, and anytime I see somebody rolling along the left wall like that, it scares me a little bit, because if you ride it all the way out past all the people, that pipe likes to pull you in from kind of far away and at weird angles. So if you roll along the left side of the wall, you can wind up entering that pipe and wasting a lot of time, because you have to come back through as well as restart the timer challenge. Yeah. So looks like SomeBro was pretty aware of that. He veered off towards the middle well before he would have hit that pipe, or even gotten remotely close to it.
Yep, thankfully averting that idea. I've never actually seen anybody roll along the left side, and that is probably why. So now SomeBro comes out of that room via the door, which does come with a loading zone to come back into the city, which is what makes the musician's first route a little bit faster. But he just has 2 more moons to gather, and then he's on his way.
And there's the patented midair down throw. It didn't really benefit SomeBro there, but that's how you know he's playing on Joy-Cons. It's the one true tell.
Yep, it definitely comes in handy in certain situations. CoinKirby looks like he's not even opting for... not even opting for the scoot clip, doing a little bit of ballet dancing as he approaches this RC car. Having a lot of difficulty driving the thing.
I don't know if he doesn't realize he can only enter that cage from the front or not, or if he's just having trouble with controls. Some people say that doing the scooter clip is actually easier for them than using the intended RC car.
I would have to, at this point, agree. I think that when I started playing this game, I got really used to the movement of the RC car and I like how it controls. But now that I have been doing the scooter clip, I don't think I would go back just because of that reason.
Yeah, so for people that haven't played this game or just don't remember, the RC car's controlled in a sort of weird way, where you use the left stick to control forward and back motion, and then the right stick lets you turn left or right. So it's kind of just this unnatural motion that you're not really used to for driving controls.
Yeah, I think it's very typical of like RC cars if you've ever owned one, but if you
Yeah.
haven't, then a little bit frustrating to deal with, perhaps a little bit hard to get used to. Doesn't make sense in the context of like driving an actual car, for example. And that being said, SomeBro is in the Snow Kingdom. It'll be interesting to see if either of these runners go for Snowdram. CoinKirby not opting for Snowdram in his first race. SomeBro, I believe, did indeed attempt it, but ended up taking a couple of falls, so we will get the tell here. He is going up to the rafters, so is going to be going for that Snowdram route. Actually pulled off the wall jumpless method to get up the banister there. I don't see that very often. Hard to do.
Looks like he's even trying to get the moon clip here to get to that tunnel room a little faster, but wasn't able to get it.
Yeah, unfortunately just missed.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing to set up quickly. Oh, and almost at risk of dying there. That Taifu can kind of eat your cap throws in a way that you don't want it to and cause you to fall to your death in his little circle pit of poison.
Luckily avoiding that just fine. Did miss the setup for the triple jump there, but going to be progressing through this room just safely anyways. CoinKirby also taking the musician's last approach as well, so going to be exiting this room, talking to Pauline, then the drummer, and then the bassist, and then on his way out of Metro Kingdom. SomeBro sitting comfortably so far.
Yeah, I feel like this is the route that was used in Metro for such a long time. I think a lot of people are just used to it and they didn't really bother to switch the order of the moons around. It's such a small time save. And the movement coming out of the girder without a warp is somewhat awkward.
Yeah, it does definitely take some time to get used to. And SomeBro pulling off that nice triple jump strategy after gathering that moon. And with that, we are back. Apologies for the technical difficulties there. And it looks like SomeBro is moving on his way through the Snow Kingdom. Didn't get a glimpse of how that Snowdram setup went there, but he is on his way, so it must have been successful. CoinKirby approaching the Snow Kingdom now, getting Captain Toad, and then on his way into town. And we will get to see if he is setting up for Snowdram himself.
So yeah, looking like CoinKirby behind by approximately 1 Snow Kingdom.
And it does appear that the gap is widening slightly. Snow Kingdom about 4.5 minutes long.
Now, I do wonder, so it looks like CoinKirby will not be going for Snowdram, entering the shop here early, the signifier of that. But I do kind of wonder how much time exactly Coin lost in Wooden Kingdom, because I feel like that is still at least 50% of the time difference between these two right now.
Likely, yes.
If not more.
It must have been a lot. I mean, not only did he miss out on the nut clip route by falling into bounds again, but he also forgot moons, and then he also fell into the deep woods after trying to get his backup moons. So definitely not optimal situation there.
As well as dumping his moons early, kind of not realizing. Oh, and SomeBro went for the Rocket Flower refresh, and it actually cost him in the sense that he's gonna have to go back and restart this notes timer. Let's see if he goes for it again.
Particular Rocket Flower refresh setup, a little tricky. You have to get back up to the surface of the water before the flower returns to you, otherwise the flower will disappear. So that's what happened to SomeBro the first time, and then trying to gather the moon notes in a way that works out for him. He actually didn't get the refresh there as well because the ground pound didn't go off before he was able to gather the moon. So having to back it up with the Gushen, some big time loss here in Seaside. Luckily still sitting comfortably in the lead.
Yeah, missing the second refresh there is not nearly as punishing as the first one. Now, the first one wouldn't have been necessarily all that punishing either if he would have been able to scoop up that last note before the time ran out, but unfortunately wasted time trying to complete it and then had to run back and start all over again. Fell just short.
Now, we did see CoinKirby enter the shop early on in the Snow Kingdom. No Snowdram attempts from him by the looks of it. So we are going to see him enter one of these 3 sub areas after to gather one quick moon kind of hidden around the mountain before leaving Snow Kingdom. Obviously the safe play here. Snowdram saving you about 8 seconds optimally, but losing much more if you do happen to miss it.
Oh, CoinKirby slipping on the ice, not able to get the long jump off in time. Gonna plummet to his death. We'll see if he knows to jump across. Yes, a little shortcut here. It's so tricky to get your bearings straight on this ice. I find just ground pounding at the spot you want to move from will stop you entirely, so you can kind of redirect your momentum in the way that it needs to be going.
Yeah, because your momentum is very greatly influenced on ice, and you tend to slip and slide around a lot, which makes things very interesting. If you're trying to set up something like a backflip on the ice, typically you just end up long jumping, which can be frustrating. There's just lots of ice mechanics that are not very friendly to you, so definitely can't blame CoinKirby for taking a tumble there.
So yeah, he'll be opting for this moon rather than the warp painting moon. He'll just warp back to the Odyssey and be able to leave. Much easier, a bit slower.
But safer for sure.
For sure. Easier, a bit slower. And the unwanted up throw as he tries to deposit his moons into the Odyssey.
Things just not going Coin's way this particular race. Now, SomeBro, as he approaches Luncheon Kingdom, did the Salt Pile triple, was able to pull it off nicely. Going to be fighting Spewart here. The first time he is approaching Spewart. that fight just fine. The only real change to that fight from the wooded one, of course, being the size of the arena. Not a problem for speedrunners, though, making the fight over and done with before Spewart's even able to move from his spot. And now that the fight's done, on his way to this sub area, grab a quick moon in here. Now, Luncheon, another one of those kingdoms where I don't think it's particularly difficult in any sense, but it is a place where just like things start to go wrong slowly but surely, and you can lose time, kind of hemorrhage it as you go through the kingdom.
I think there's two kinds of difficulty. One being just like the traditional, this trick is hard to pull off. And then there's the kind of difficulty where it's just like, this thing is not hard to do, but it's kind of hard to do as fast as possible.
Right.
And just like everything in Luncheon falls into that second category.
I would have to agree with that.
I think it's in large part due to the general layout of the kingdom, as well as all these surfaces being very awkward.
Yeah, you've got these kind of lo-fi polygonal shapes making up the mountains, and as you saw, SomeBro having a little bit of difficulty traversing them to get that moon on, overlooking the ingredients. And those polygonal shapes really do play kind of a role within a lot of what makes Luncheon difficult.
Yeah, and you can actually use them to your advantage in a lot of situations if you know how to work them, because they just tend to have weird properties with wall kicks and such, and just like which parts of it you can stand on. So if you know where to stand, where to jump, you kind of work them in your favor. But if you don't, they can do unexpected things that just throw you off. SomeBro a bit erratic here as he tries to capture this lava bubble, but he does get to this sub area safely.
Yeah, some interesting issues with that lava bubble. Did look like he had himself set up for the quick capture, but wasn't able to pull it off. Had to wait for it to come around.
And SomeBro got the classic in this room, getting a spin throw when you want an up throw, and he's just going to tumble all the way back to the beginning, not taking a death, but pretty close to just as punishing.
Very solid backup, though. Was able to save himself and like come around the front of the mountain again. Better than a death for sure, but definitely not going to be happy with that room. You know, if CoinKirby plays clean, then he will be making up a little bit of time in that particular place. So now SomeBro kind of through most of the difficult portion of Luncheon. Now it just has the turnip clip to do. Another 1.0 exclusive trick, which involves using this turnip to clip into that cage containing the moon up ahead. Something only 1.0 runners can do. Let's see what his setup looks like here. Gonna be opting to just kind of set it up slowly. Spiny giving him some troubles, using the turnip to kill the Spiny though. Now he's got to grab a pan bro and position him in between the wall and the turnip, and then recapture in order to slide through. And not quite getting it on the first try. The turnip maybe not in exactly the right position. Gonna have to be careful here. That turnip can indeed kill the pan bro if you're not in the right place. Taking a lot of time to set this up.
I think this trick is my favorite 1.0 exclusive trick, just because of the absurdity of it. Like, if you describe what is happening on the screen right now to just an unsuspecting bystander, they would think you're on drugs. You're taking a giant golden turnip, throwing it up against a glowing rainbow cage, and what kind of species would we say Panbro is? They're like turtles, right?
Yeah, I guess they're Koopas, so...
Yeah, so taking a frying pan flinging turtle, rubbing it up against, in between the turnip, the giant golden turnip, and the rainbow glowing cage. to clip into it.
Yep, and you know, anybody who has probably never seen this game would have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. That all being said, SomeBro did make it through the cage. Having a little bit of spaghetti up the mountain there, but finally into the fork flick and on his way to the meat plateau where he will be able to get out of Luncheon Kingdom. Definitely caused him a lot of grief, so he's probably very happy to be out of here.
Yeah, this kind of showing off what we were talking about. Luncheon Kingdom just likes to grab you at every turn and slow you down. I know personally it's always a relief to get out of this kingdom, especially when you're on any kind of PvP pace.
Certainly. I feel like no matter what I do, this kingdom will always have time save. Now CoinKirby trying to go for the roll cancel around the corner there, unfortunately just missing it and taking a burn. But hopefully has a little bit better luck with these elements of Luncheon than SomeBro did. Did make it up the mountain here quite nicely. Still has a lot of ground to make up, but he has the potential to at least clean up the Luncheon Kingdom a little bit.
Hey, you never know. Maybe we'll see a Death and Ruin Kingdom.
Or 3. Yep, I did kind of jinx it by saying it is the scariest kingdom in the run last time. That being said, you know, don't think we'll be seeing SomeBro do any sort of risky activity trying to jump off the side of the cliff and we'll all jump on the outside of the arena or anything like that. Probably going to be playing it safe, but it is going to come down to this.
Sadly, we won't be seeing any of our friend Captain Toad, 8-bit Captain Toad.
Yeah, a staple of 1.2 specific versions. The coin hint arts that are available now. Not a whole lot you can really do, so I don't really blame Ekwan for trying to do some wall jumps outside of the arena because he's bored. You know, this fight is not incredibly exciting, but at least in 1.2 we do have Captain Toad. We do get to fling him around a little bit, maybe do some like spinning and dancing with him, but 1.0 just have to kind of walk around this massive stage, not really doing anything, so just waiting for this boss to throw his electricity at you.
CoinKirby elected to utilize one more fort in that sub-area than is required, I presume, to avoid exactly the kind of thing that happened to SomeBro, where you take that angle around the corner, dive too soon, bonk, and fall back down to the beginning. Using that last fort pretty much certainly guarantees that that won't happen. You will have some trouble climbing this mountain here, need a bonk and then hit of damage.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to make his way back up here, grabbing the turnip and setting it up here. And from here, see if he goes for any sort of like Kobe strategies. Using the turnip and I'm not sure what he's trying to do here. Trying to kill the Panbro perhaps with the turnip. Okay, jumping on the Panbro now. Gonna be capturing this one instead. And oh, I see. Opting not to do the turnip clip at all now. Just kind of debating us a little bit perhaps, and gonna just pull the cheese lever instead.
Actually kind of risky there with jumping up next to that Spiny with only 1 health.
Thankfully makes it through just fine. Otherwise he would be sent back to the Forks Room entrance. Now SomeBro finished up with Ruin Kingdom on his way to Bowser's. Of course, still some things can happen here. Lots of tricky platforming sections available in this kingdom, things can still definitely go wrong for SomeBro here.
SomeBro breaking my heart a little bit by not going for the behind the big wall move, but that's okay. I think I can find it in my heart to forgive him.
CoinKirby kind of climbing up the meat plateau, just nice and slow, nice and steady, not opting for any sort of risky strategies here.
So now CoinKirby's turn to breathe a sigh of relief. Leave Munching Kingdom. Have a little bit of a breather, heading to the roof bracket.
Yep, a little bit of a breather, gets to kind of relax a little bit, I suppose. Meanwhile, SomeBro going for the shards, taking a bit of a weird approach, in my opinion. Looking to do a down throw and then get on the roof. Yeah, done in a bit of a strange order, a little bit of a risky order, in my opinion, but making it work out just fine. Shards being probably the scariest portion, in my opinion, of Bowser's Kingdom, aside from the Robo-Brutal fight waiting at the end. So, probably going to be glad to have that part out of the way.
Yeah, I think definitely the trickiest part. Kind of forces you to do a lot of weird movement around this island. Grab all of the shards.
And now just grabbing one quick moon on the top of this roof before facing off against the brutal refights here.
And here he has a chance at redemption. If he goes for topper first, all will be forgiven. Mine. But he's just gonna rip my heart out again and go for Harriet.
Yep, it appears that way. Harriet first gang strikes again. Interesting bomb juggling going on from SomeBro here. Certainly not the most optimal way to go about that fight, but making it work out okay. Still has, of course, a commanding lead. But if anything, if the last race in particular is any indication, this race is still far from over. As we kind of approach the end of the game, you know, this gap is going to mean a little bit more, but anything can still happen. We could see SomeBro make some huge mistakes in the Robo-Boot fight. A death would put this race closer all of a sudden.
Topper gonna punish SomeBro for his sins, but not giving him a very good fight here.
Yep, classic Topper moves. Oh, he's down to 1 health. This is looking rather risky. He's gonna have to play this fight safe. Hats flying everywhere. He's gonna get the heart for the refill and get the final hit, but very close call there. Now just picking up this story moon associated with those refights. Meanwhile, CoinKirby all done with his ruined section, on his way over to Bowser's Kingdom now. Probably has about 4 minutes to catch up here. But SomeBro, on his way to the final portion of Bowser's Kingdom, because he didn't pick up that Pokio Capture Warp Moon earlier in the kingdom, he is going to have to make his way around this upcoming wall, or over, I suppose, or around, I suppose, to open up these crates and get the moon hidden inside.
Yeah, looking a little indecisive there as to the way he wanted to approach that moon, but gets it pretty cleanly without the boxes giving him any trouble. Sometimes they control you a little bit.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that go worse.
And the single hit capture with spin throw, that's something you don't see every day.
Very spicy. Just got to make his way up this wall now with the Pokio. Looking a little bit risky, but does end up making it. Now a little bit of strange capture, maybe cinematic effect taking play here before he makes his way up to this Robo Brutal fight. Going off to the side for extra cinematic effect.
CoinKirby showing off the strat of using the Pokio's nose to poke a pylon to capture it. It's something that makes no sense at all, but somehow works.
That's the thing you can do?
It is, yep.
How interesting. I've never actually seen that happen.
SomeBro struggling with this first phase. Not able to get onto the third peg of the Robo Brute's leg there. Finally does. Is at a bit of a weird angle, but still able to dive onto the top of Rango's bubble there.
Yeah, it took him a little bit of trying, but he did make it up. Did get the second hit rather nicely as well. He's just got to keep this fight nice and clean, and hopefully that will be what he needs to kind of progress into the Moon Kingdom and take the victory here.
Looks like he will.
CoinKirby on his shard gathering adventure takes a bonk here and is going to fall to his death. You know, unfortunate time loss is adding up here.
Thankfully, he did grab the checkpoint at the beginning of this section, or else that would have been a much greater time loss. But he's just going to die again instead. Unfortunate.
Oh, you hate to see it.
As SomeBro finishes up his Robo Brute fight, pretty clean after the first phase. Took a while to get on top initially, but after that, kind of a textbook fight there for him. So we'll see him after some short cutscene time, moving on to the Moon Kingdom to finish out the game, as he is in the driver's seat to win this race.
Yeah, it is definitely his race to lose. Running out of options in how he can go about losing huge amounts of time. As long as his Moon Kingdom plays clean, he should be okay. CoinKirby, meanwhile, does look a little bit defeated. Is kind of going about this in a way. It does look like he has kind of given up a little bit, perhaps. But actually opting for this moon, which is not something we've seen in any percent runs in quite a while. Not opting for the crate moon or the bird capture warp strat, instead just going for that moon and not rolling or diving at all, it looks like, just opting to take a nice little stroll over to the story moon.
Yeah, that moon actually is, of the moons that aren't in the 80% route, the optimal 80% route, that is one of the faster moons in this kingdom. It used to be in the route, but just a bit too slow compared to some of the other ones you can grab. Considering you only need 2 extra ones outside of the story moons in this kingdom, there are a lot of options. Fast moons get cut pretty easily.
CoinKirby just getting battered around by this Bowser's Kingdom. Even in situations where you don't think anything is going to happen, really, he is taking bonks on the shop sign. He's having a little bit of difficulty getting up this platform, but he is going topper first.
SomeBro went for actually a really interesting vector there that I haven't seen people do before. He rolled all the way to the edge of the first cliff and then started his triple jump vector from there.
Yeah, and that's characteristic of SomeBro. Some kind of off-the-wall strategies, ones that aren't necessarily within the realm of like what is conventional by a lot of top 80% runners, but I guess you do what works, right?
It doesn't seem like it was something that would have been very much slower, if at all. Just different more than anything.
And CoinKirby wrong warping into Splatoon 2 by the looks of it. Fascinating stuff. You know, I never thought that this kind of data manipulation would exist within two different video games, but here we are seeing that that is indeed the case. All right, and it looks like he did crash into some sort of boss and is back into Super Mario Odyssey just like that. And
definitely the only explanation for that scenario. Definitely a wrong warp.
It must have been. I cannot think of anything else. But unfortunately, before executing his wrong warp, did not get any of the checkpoints by the shop or by these boss fights, so he is going to be sent all the way back to the shards area. Unfortunate situation. Gonna have to fight Topper again. And, you know, despite being a very unfortunate situation for CoinKirby, it definitely cannot say that this was not an entertaining race to watch. All sorts of shenanigans happening in this race. And now, back to SomeBro for a moment. He is in the final phase of this fight with Bowser.
And he's also on 1 health.
He's also on 1 health, which means that he has to take this as slow as possible. Ooh, almost getting hit by the hat before he's able to grab that life heart. But making it work, punching Bowser the final time. This is going to set him up for the escape sequence. CoinKirby doing a little bit of sightseeing, grabbing the checkpoint before making his way into the Harriet fight.
Checkpoints do give you a health refill.
Whoa, what is SomeBro doing? Taking us for a little bit of a loop. I don't know what he was trying to accomplish there. Did a spin throw and then a jump almost off the cliff. Luckily, he was at the beginning of the escape sequence. That wouldn't have cost him a whole lot of time, but definitely not something you see every day. SomeBro approaching this 2D skip section. Looked like he was trying to skip a cutscene that doesn't actually exist.
That's something I think every Odyssey runner has done at some point. There's so many cutscenes we need to skip that sometimes our brain just tells us to skip a cutscene that isn't even there for no particular reason.
For some reason, I was getting into that habit with Bowser's Kingdom. Every time I would enter a... For some reason, I was telling myself to press pause to skip a cutscene when all I had to do was shoot through the wire. That was a bit of a weird, bad habit that I had for a while. CoinKirby thankfully making it out of the Brutals alive and well, finally making his way up to the Robo Brute fight. SomeBro approaching the escape sequence. Oh no, CoinKirby taking a bomb to the face, opening up the menu in frustration again.
Looks like SomeBro got the early pillar there, very nicely done. Took an extra shot or two, but still better to knock that pillar down early than to loop all the way back around for it after the other ones.
And finishing off the pillar room rather handily, getting those last few fireballs in, and on his way to the final platform.
It's going to finish off here with some kind of high 107 time.
You know, this race was rather spaghetti on both ends. But GG's to both runners. SomeBro pulling out the victory here, 107-31.
So yeah, he will move on to face all new Luke in the next round of the losers bracket, where he'll be in yet another winner go home situation, as he will be in for the rest of the tournament.
Yep, and still opportunities to move on for SomeBro. Fortunately, CoinKirby going to be taking the loss on this one, knocking himself out of the tournament. You know, you probably don't like to see that, but it does look like he is trying to finish up this Robo Brood fight at least. And coming up after this, we do have some more speedrunning action coming your way. At 8:15 Eastern Time, we do have a Super Metroid match between a Real Cutie and Freya's Spirit. So be sure to stay tuned for that. It does look like we're getting a little bit of a sneak peek into that Super Metroid action as we speak. SomeBro switching games, wrong warping into Super Metroid. But I think that's our cue to change gears here. I think we're gonna let SomeBro, finish maybe with dignity. I think he might be kind of finishing up in general here. Just a reminder of our sponsor, Vi.gg. If you want to place bets on these runners, if you want to maybe earn a little bit of cash, you want to win some money, then go ahead, visit Vi.gg, type !bet in the chat or click the banner underneath your stream video. But until next time, my name is Dangers. I'm with Kirbis. Thank you for commentating, Kirbis. It was fun. Good times.
Always a pleasure.
Very interesting race to watch indeed. And we will see you guys on the other side. Enjoy the rest of your speedrunning content.